Are you live? Okay, good morning, everybody. As I said, today we are going to learn about our Cuento de Hadas, which is going to be your final project. We won't have a regular final. And your Cuento de Hadas will be due at 3 o'clock on the day of our normal final, because that's when your normal final would be going on. We're not going to meet next week so that you have time to write, but during class, I will make myself available via text and via email. Or via Zoom if you want, that's fine too. You can send me a Zoom link and I'm happy to do that. So just today what we're going to do is, it's about 10 minutes, I'd say, to learn vocabulary for your Cuento de Hadas, and then you guys can ask me questions, and then we will be done, and you can start writing. Okay. Actually, let me get rid of my picture. You don't need to see my picture. There we go. Okay, Cuentos de Hadas, which is going to be our final project. Hoy, tres cosas en el agenda. ¿Qué es un cuento de hada? ¿Cuál vocabulario es común en un cuento de hada? ¿Y cuáles son los requisitos para tu cuento de hada? Ok, ¿qué es un cuento de hada? Es un subgénero del género de literatura infantil. Tiene elementos de fantasía. Tiene criaturas mágicas y o personajes mágicos. Y tiene lugar en una tierra imaginaria y de fantasía. Muchas veces un cuento de hadas es un cuento folclórico. En el mundo del cuento de hadas consiste en la naturaleza. Muchas veces es un reino o muchas veces es un bosque mágico. O en algunos casos son los dos. Por ejemplo, Blancanieves o las princesas bailando están en un reino y en un bosque mágico. Muchas veces hay objetos fantásticos como varitas mágicas, que es un magic wand, zapatillos mágicos, espejos mágicos, etc. Ejemplos famosos de cuentos de hadas incluyen Cenicienta, que es Cinderella, los tres chivitos traviesos, the three mischievous billy goats, los tres cerditos, Hansel y Gretel, Blancanieves y los 7 enanitos, Pinocho, la Caperucita Roja, which is what I have the picture of here, Peter Pan y la Tierra de Nunca Jamás, y el Bosque Mágico. Son ejemplos famosos de cuentos de hadas. En los cuentos de hadas, los mensajes importantes se caracterizan por el valor, la fortaleza y la lucha ante conflictos de nuestra existencia que, bien afrontados, nos llevarán a la victoria. Por eso desarrollan de manera positiva las personalidades de los pequeñitos, de los niños. Por eso su cuento de hada necesita tener un conflicto para su protagonista. Su protagonista tiene un conflicto que tiene que resolver. Es tu elección. Puede resolver en manera positiva o en manera negativa, pero tiene que resolver. Bien, ya sabes qué es un cuento de hadas. Ahora vamos a aprender un vocabulario en un cuento de hada. I am not able to put this up onto Blackboard because Blackboard is limiting our bandwidth, and PowerPoints and videos are one of the biggest things. And so don't write down any words that you already know because I don't want you to waste your time. But if you see a word that you don't know and you think you want to use in your cuento de hada, go ahead and write it down so that you know so that you have it later. If if I'm going too fast, I can also email this to you later. Just email me and let me know. Okay, vocabulario común. Once upon a time es había una vez. Once upon a time es había una vez. The end, claro que es el fin. And they lived happily ever after, es y vivieron felices para siempre. Ok, algunos personajes comunes. Un príncipe azul, which would be Prince Charming en español. Una princesa, un rey y o una reina. Estos personajes son comunes, pero no es obligatorio usarlos en su cuento de hada. A menudo el protagonista es huérfano o solo tiene un padre o un padrastro o una madrastra. Muchas veces también hay una persona o una criatura que ayuda a la princesa o al protagonista. Otra vez, esto no es necesario, no es obligatorio, pero va a ayudar. Va a ayudar cuando están escribiendo. Ok, unas personas mágicas comunes. La bruja es un witch. Las brujas pueden ser brujas buenas, como Glinda, o pueden ser brujas malas, como en Hansel y Gretel. También el mago. El mago es cualquier hombre que tiene poderes mágicos. Cualquier hombre que tiene poderes mágicos. Entonces en inglés hay 4, wizard, mage, sorcerer o necromancer, porque todos son personas masculinas que tienen poderes. El hada es un fairy y el hada madrina is fairy godmother. So if you want to use any of these in your cuento de hadas, here they are. Ok, unas criaturas fantásticas comunes en los cuentos de hadas. Yo no sé si ustedes quieren usar criaturas fantásticas, pero si quieren, aquí están. El más popular es el dragón. Los dragones son muy comunes en los cuentos de hadas. También tenemos el duende. El duende es un troll, imp o goblin. Ok, nota bien. Muchas veces los duendes pequeños son buenos, como en Trolls y Frozen. Y los duendes grandes son malos, como en El Hobbit y en El Señor de los Anillos. Muchas veces, usualmente. El enano es un dwarf. Usualmente los enanos trabajan en minas debajo de la tierra. La sirena. Las sirenas pueden ser malas o buenas. El unicornio se llama unicornio porque solo tiene un cuerno. Y el grifo, que es un griffin en inglés, el hada, pero la palabra es femenina, entonces son las hadas. como Tinkerbell o el hada de dientes en la cultura norteamericana. Finalmente, ¿cuáles son los requisitos para mi cuento de hada? Ok, en la semana que viene no hay clase, ni en vivo ni por Livestream. Por favor, trabajen en su cuento de hadas original y yo estaré disponible por email o text para ayudar con dudas o preguntas durante la clase. Okay, let's go to our instructions and go over them quickly. If anybody has questions, this would be a great time to ask. Okay, so on this last week, so where I am here is I went all the way down to final project, okay? So this week you don't have readings or anything due, just work on your cuento de hadas for your final project. It's going to be due by or before 3 p.m. on Monday, May 10th, which would be at the end of our regular final if we had a regular final. Always feel free to email or text with questions. I'm here to help in any way that I can. All right, when you are ready to turn it in, you're just going to click right here and copy and paste, or right here, whatever it is that you have. This is going to replace your final, so there's no in-person final on our normal final day, which would be May 10th from 1 to 3. So because we're not going to have a regular final, we won't meet that day, but online, it's due on May 10th at or before 3 p.m. And you're just going to click right here and turn it in. Here's how I'm going to grade. It's 100 points. Your title. This should tell me about your story, not be something general like Cuento de Hadas. When I read your title, I want to know what it's about, like the dragon and the princess, or the dwarves that couldn't find the mine, whatever. I want to know what it is that I'm going to be reading. Don't call it Cuento de Hadas. Okay, it should be a minimum of 500 words, which is about 2 pages double-spaced. You can go over the limit, but not under. So you can make your story as long as you want to, okay? If you want to write it, I'm happy to read it, but don't go under the 500 words. If you don't know how to use word count on Microsoft Word, I can easily show you. We could just have like a very quick Zoom session. Okay, the topic. You pick the topic. It can be anything that you think would be interesting for children to read. It does not have to include the words that I just taught you. I just gave them to you to make your life easier, but if you have a different idea, that's fine. I'll be grading on whether your story is a fairy tale with the elements of fantasy that would be appropriate for children. And that's what we just talked about. What elements of fantasy do you normally find in a fairy tale? And are you using some of them in your story? So that will be 10 points. Then your content. Is it interesting, easy to read, and appropriate for children? Does it include elements of fantasy that we talked about? Would children find this understandable and engaging? 40 points. And then your Spanish grammar is going to be 40 points. So total, that's 100 points. Okay. Elvia, we actually aren't going to have class next week because everyone is just going to be writing. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute, so if anybody has questions, you can write them in the chat. Do you guys here have questions? Nope, you're good? All right, let me give you a minute in the chat to ask questions if you need to. Lydia, excellent question. Lydia, that's a good question. Thank you. So she asked, are there certain tenses that wouldn't be appropriate for children? And by the time a child is 4 or 5, they can understand most words that an adult can understand. That was a good question. Thank you for asking that. Any other questions? Okay, awesome. I'm going to stay here with the people who are here and help them write, so I will be here. If any of you have any questions, feel free to email me.
I think there was a question.
Oh, there was another question? I missed it. And we can send you the draft to check it, right? Ah, yes, good. Ruby has been reading. If you go to week 15, this week you don't have anything due. Please work on your original Cuento de Hadas. This week, up until Friday at 5 p.m., I'm willing to read your rough draft and send it back to you with corrections so you can know that your final project is up to your correct standard. However you want it to be. So Ruby, your answer is C. All right, guys, thanks for a great semester. It's been lovely. We've had some good stories and some good conversations. I'm just sorry that I only saw some of you 3 times and I didn't get to know you better. Hopefully in the next couple semesters, I'll get to have some of you in classes again. I'm really looking forward to reading your Cuentos de Hadas. So, yeah, be in contact with me via text or email if you need anything. But, yeah, that's all. Adios. Cuídense.